The Code Hard Truth, fighting bad programming one error at a time.
All right, welcome in. So today what we're going to be talking about are the main differences between an abstract class and an interface. And the best way to look at both of these generally is to see them both as contracts. So any subclass that's going to inherit from either an abstract class or an interface is going to have to implement some type of method. And the method that it's going to have to implement are called abstract methods. All an abstract method is a method that doesn't contain a body. So taking a little bit closer look here, the main difference between an abstract class and an interface: an abstract class is simply just a class that usually contains at least one abstract method. Now, there are certain instances where an abstract class can have absolutely no methods in it, and that's usually done in order to prevent a class from being instantiated, because abstract classes cannot be instantiated. But don't worry about any of that, because 9 times out of 10, when you see abstract class, chances are it's going to have abstract methods in it, as well as regular methods that you would find in any normal class, where an interface contains only abstract methods, and interfaces also cannot be instantiated. So I know this kind of sounds a little bit vague, but let's get a better understanding of exactly when we should use this, why we should use this, by using an example that's going to use an abstract class, and then it's going to be the same example that uses an interface, and hopefully you'll be able to see the difference and get a better understanding of this concept. So our example is going to be centered around early to late 90s wrestling superstars.
I said give me a hell yeah!
Because widgets are fucking boring. So let's start off with looking at an abstract class. So this is going to be our abstract parent class that all of the wrestlers will inherit from. So if you look at this class, it's a regular class. It's going to have a regular general method in it, and it's going to contain some abstract methods. So if there's a mixture of unique and generalized methods that your subclasses will inherit, then you should use an abstract class as the superclass. Now, what does that mean? Let's take a look at this even closer. Let's say, for example, that every single wrestler makes the same amount of money every time they step into the ring. Doesn't matter if you're a superstar or if you're just starting out. So that's a general method. If this was just a regular class, it would look like this. And when we instantiated the objects, we'd be able to use this method, and it would tell us how much that wrestler made for the match. But wrestlers aren't all the same. They're unique. They're going to have some aspects to them that stand out. For example, they're all going to have different theme music. They're all going to have different finishers. So the best way to implement what we're talking about is by creating these abstract methods that every single wrestler, aka subclass, when they inherit this wrestler superclass, are going to have to implement these methods. For example, let's say we make a wrestler class called Kane. We extend wrestler because, again, an abstract class is just a class. When you're inheriting from a class, you're going to have to extend it. And when you do that, initially, you're going to get this syntax error. It's going to tell you, hey, there's a contract here that you're abiding by extending this wrestler class. And what the contract is that you're going to have to add these abstract methods. So if you click add unimplemented methods, it's going to create the 2 methods that we had earlier in our superclass. These methods are specific to the wrestler. So I went ahead and filled them out. When we use the theme music, Kane's intro music is going to play. When we use the finisher method, his finisher is going to get printed, which is the tombstone. So we went ahead and created a second wrestler, same exact thing. He's going to have a couple of these methods that are unique to him. They're all in common. Like every single wrestler is going to have a finisher and have theme music, but they're all going to be a little bit different. So it's smarter to create an abstract class where your subclasses will use a general method like this to find out how much each wrestler makes per match, but then also have once again, unique methods that are going to be specific to the subclasses. Now, why do we do this? You could technically go into each individual subclass and type out, public, void, theme music, and make its own method, and then the same thing for a finisher. But let's say you had 100 different wrestlers. That would be a pain in the ass to do. So it's just simpler to have these abstract methods in the superclass. When the subclasses inherit, it's going to force you to create and override your methods, and then you can make them unique to each individual subclass. So let's see this in action. This is our client module. We created 2 wrestlers. One's going to be Kane. One's going to be Stone Cold. And here we utilize all of the methods that came with the parent class. The first one is going to be the theme music, the finisher, which again are both abstract methods that are unique to the wrestler. And then we're going to have this generalized method, which is just going to tell us how much money they made for the match. So wrestler 1 is Kane. Wrestler 2 is Stone Cold. And when we hit run, let's see what we get. Cool. So wrestler 1, who is Kane, again, is utilizing his abstract method. We made it unique to that subclass. It's going to play Kane's intro music. His finisher is the tombstone. And then we use just the regular method that's part of that class that tells us how much money they made. Kane worked 5 hours at $250 an hour. He made $12.50 for the night. And same thing happened with Stone Cold. Unique. And then he made $750 because he wrestled for only 3 hours. So in order to make this class abstract, you have to use this keyword. If you don't use it, you will get a syntax error. And it's going to say, well, hey, dude, you have abstract methods here. Like, this needs to be an abstract class. Now, what is an interface? An interface, using the same example here, is almost identical to an abstract class. Only think of it as a more hardcore contract. Basically, there are no methods that contain bodies. Every single method in your interface is going to have no body in it. Now, when's a good time to use an interface? Let's say each of your subclasses has, again, common methods that they're going to be using, but are going to be absolutely unique to each class. Then using an interface is a good idea. For example, let's say each wrestler, now they make different amounts of money. Let's say Stone Cold makes more money than Kane when he wrestles. So you're basically going to create these methods and implement this interface in your subclass, because an interface isn't a class, so you can't extend it. And when you implement it, what you're saying is, hey, this is a contract between this subclass and this interface, and the contract states that you have to add all of the abstract methods in there. So there they are. And again, I already filled these out, so I'm just going to hit back. I have Austin making $300 an hour. I have Kane making $200 an hour here. And when we go to our client module, we'll do the same exact thing here. We're just going to instantiate these objects. We're going to use the methods provided to us by the interface. And when we run it, we're going to see a little bit of a different result, because now this payment for work method doesn't have a body in it, and it's going to be customized to each class. So Kane, who wrestled for 5 hours, makes $200 an hour, will make $1,000. And Austin, who also wrestled for 5 hours, makes $300 an hour, so he'll make $1,500. So, put simply, an abstract class is basically just a class that usually contains at least one abstract method, and it's a contract. If you inherit it, then you're going to have to implement those abstract methods within your subclass. And an interface contains just abstract methods. It isn't a class. It is a contract. If you implement it, if you inherit from it, then you're going to have to override all of the methods that are contained within that interface. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, leave comments below. And that is it for this lesson. Thank you for watching.